Are we rolling, Bob? Is Bob your uncle? Hey guys, how's it going? 17. Whoa. Nothing like a home brew. Well, as promised, and I'm sorry about last week, I did not get a chance to post a video. And this one's late, so anyways, but here we go. Here we are. Better late than never. And as promised, I was going to answer some questions that you guys left in the comments section from last week. It's a cold winter's night here in my town. I've got my bum sweatshirt on, as you can see, looking like a bum, and that's okay. So I have 17 questions, and that's just the way it worked out. I had 18, but I deleted one because I'm going to address that one right now. I have several home brews that were sent to me that I need to review. They're in the fridge and they're waiting. Okay, so for those of you who have sent them, no worries. Okay, I'm going to get around to that. I've got lots of time next week, so we'll do lots of videos. And I also have a few emails from people who want to send some beers. I will answer those emails and give you the appropriate information after I, check and see who you are. CraigTubeMail@gmail.com is where you would send me a request for a location to send you or send in beers, and I'll review them on YouTube. So that's that. Now, I don't answer questions on that email, please. If you ask me a question there, I'm not going to answer it. If you want to ask me a question, go to 17brewcrew.com, and we'll take care of you over there. I got a section over there just for me, or if you want to ask everybody, you'll see. And the second thing I want to address, which I get asked all the time, and I'm not going to dwell on this. No, I'm not cutting my hair. Sorry. For those few people out there who seem to have a problem with long hair, I'm very, very sorry. But I always wanted long hair, and I was never able to grow it, and now I can grow my hair, so I'm growing it. It's long, and that's the way it's staying, and I'm going to keep on growing. So I'm sorry for those guys who don't like it, but to each his own. The first question I have here is, you said Clamato juice has MSG in it in your last video. Aren't you a huge opponent of MSG? Cheers, and keep the vids coming. Yes, the Clamato juice that I buy does have MSG, monosodium glutamate. And no, I'm not a fan of the stuff. I think that it's terrible. Anything with MSG in it, I avoid like the plague. It's not bad in small doses, but a lot of processed food has it in it, and it causes obesity. It causes food addictions. It makes you keep eating and eating and eating. There's lots of reasons why the food companies put it in. Not just because it adds flavor, but just follow the money, okay? And it really, the other day I bought a can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, or it wasn't chicken noodle, it was cream of mushroom soup, and I ate that, and I felt absolutely terrible afterwards, because I'm very sensitive to monosodium glutamate, as a lot of people are. So, but the Clamato juice, it's not too bad. Clamato juice we use to make Caesars, a drink that I love, and you've seen it, look it up. But it's not enough to bother me in there. So yes, I don't like the stuff, but in smaller doses, it's not a problem. Thank you for asking that. How would you recommend sweetening cider that is made from store-bought apple juice? I have to try to keep these answers fairly short so I can get them all in. The number one thing that comes to my mind is once the stuff stops fermenting, once it's finished fermenting, put it in the freezer and let it sit there for a day or so until it's, as frozen as it's going to get. That kills the yeast. Okay? And then when you let it thaw, you can just add sugar. You can add sugar to it and give it a stir until it tastes the way you like it. Okay? That's the best way to do it. There's other ways of taking care of. This is called back sweetening. And there's other ways of doing it. Which I could go into in another video, but that's the easiest and quickest way without having to buy any chemicals or any special things. All right. Fruit. Would you mind trying a beer with fruit or something with fruit? Cheers. Enjoy tuning into your weekly episode. Okay, yes, fruit. I love fruit beers. I've actually had some strawberry, ales and stuff like that. As far as brewing with fruit, I've never done it. I guess that's one of the things that I'd like to do down here in the dungeon is incorporate some fruit in some beer. I would recommend frozen fruit. The stuff you buy in the frozen food section of your grocery store, because frozen fruit will give off more juice, right? Because when you freeze it, it breaks the cell membranes, and it lets out more juice. So, a bag of frozen strawberries or blueberries or whatever, however much, I don't know off the top of my head how much it would take, but I'm sure you could look that up and go to 17brewcrew.com and you can ask, okay, and see what they say. All right, here we go. Have you ever seen the Grainfather? I love the Grainfather. It's an all-grain brewing system, all-in-one all-grain brewing system. It's wonderful concept. The only issue with it is that you have to have, a lot of wattage in your household to power the thing. Anytime you're trying to heat, that much water or wort in a thing electrically, you have to have a lot of electricity. I only have 120 volts, 15 amps in my house. I do not have a higher amperage outlet. So, I would recommend if you live in North America and you have 120 volts, you're going to need 20 to 30 amps. 20 will probably do it, but 30 I would, just in case, to run the thing. So if you don't have that, you can't use it. I could probably easily have something installed down here. I could probably do it myself, but I have to inspect it, or else my insurance won't cover it. But no, it's a great system. I've seen it work, and I've heard good things about it. Probably a bit of a bitch to clean afterwards, but if you really wanted to do all grain, and it's expensive too. I would really be interested in the fact that you can distill with the thing, because I would just like to distill water. Do you listen to classic country or rap? What about playing them on Friday Night Live? Friday Night Live. What's that? Oh yeah, my broadcast. Friday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. vonlive.tv/CraigTube. Thanks for asking, Mark. And yes, I don't mind country music at all, actually. The older stuff is great. The newer country is okay. Rap music, sorry, I'm not a fan. I can't rap, and I think that some of these rappers are pretty talented, but I'm just not a fan of rap music at all. And I don't play a lot of, I don't play every single type of music on my broadcast. I don't play heavy metal, I don't play rap, and otherwise I do stick to a sort of a popular, retro popular style music on my broadcast, and that's kind of what people have, that's what people like. I've been doing it for over 6 years, and that's what we've settled on, and it seems to work. Okay, so thank you for asking. I cannot get any head retention and no lacing. What additions will help? What glass cleaner is good? Thanks. Love the videos and all the excellent info. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Anytime you want to have more head retention, you just need more malt in your beer. If you're doing kit and kilo, then you just have to accept the fact you're not going to get head retention and stuff like that. This beer here is I used the 5 and 7. I'm going to put a link to that down below. I made up this term, which I like to use when I'm making a quick pre-hopped beer kit. And you can see that it's not totally dead, but it doesn't have a lot of head on it. It's got some action, you can sort of see that, and a little lacing. So this is fine. This head and lacing thing has been going around for years. It's overrated. It's nice when you get a beer, especially a darker beer, with a nice foam on it, because it does add to the mouthfeel of the beer. Just like cream adds mouthfeel to coffee, and it's a smoothness. You can use Maris Otter grains. Put about 500 grams of those in there, or get some crystal grains, some crystal 60, crystal 40, whatever. I think Maris Otter is really the one that people use to add head retention to their beers. Grind it up, and steep it, and you know, and then add that to your wort. Again, keeping these questions quick. Stop adding so much dextrose to your beer and add more malt, whether it's dry malt extract or an extra can of liquid malt. The more proteins your beer has coming from the malt, the better the head retention will be, if that's important to you. Personally, I'm not brewing for competitions. I'm brewing just so I can drink some beers. Hey, Peter, the DIY fermenter you don't use anymore, did you have a problem with it? Or are you just worried because it doesn't have an airlock? Thank you. Yes, I do still have the Cooper's DIY, I think it's a Mr. Beer now, fermenter. I don't use it very often. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that I'm an old school brewer. I like the airlock. I do like an airlock because I can go over and I can look the next day after I pitch my yeast, and I can say, yeah, okay, we're going. It's bubbling. Everything's good. Not that you can't tell if there's, by looking at the beer itself. You can tell by looking at the beer that it's fermenting. There's foam on top. You got a Krausen ring going around, on the top, stuff like that. But I have 3 fermenters for beer that have the airlocks on them. So unless I really needed to get a 4th batch going, I wouldn't use it. Not because there's anything wrong with it. It's fine. I prefer an airlock myself. But those of you who want to get into home brewing and you're looking at buying the Cooper's, DIY, I don't know, whatever they call it these days, with the fermenter with no airlock, nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Hey, Craig, have you ever thought about doing a chili beer? Maybe with a hint of honey, or maybe even adding a bit of preservative-free mango juice in the beer. You could even name the brew after your furnace. My furnace, which might come on and you'll hear it roaring away. Yeah, I would be a little worried about putting chili peppers in beer, just because if it got kind of spicy, you have to think about tomorrow. So, but I have been very interested in ginger beers, adding ginger to beer. That is something that is just one of the things that's on the top of my list, is to brew a ginger beer. And I've talked about that before. And so that would be a nice thing. Ginger's good for you. And, but yeah, spicy beer is good. Just, gotta try to be careful with that. My question is, does reusing the same yeast improve the quality of the beer in any way? I wouldn't say it improves the beer. I haven't, from my experience, I wouldn't say that it does. But when you get a good quality yeast, I would reuse it over and over and over again. That's basically what we're doing, is we're saving money. I don't know, the yeast companies are going to come knocking at my door. But and I always say, buy fresh yeast. Make sure the prices don't go up. We have to support the yeast company. They make a lot of money off of big breweries, but we still need to, us home brewers still have to buy yeast. But if you find a yeast strain that you really like, I wouldn't hesitate to reuse it. It won't improve your beer. It's better yeast than, it could be better yeast than the yeast that comes in the lid of a kit. But it won't improve the beer once you start using it. It's just going to taste the same over and over again. A rat trap. You talked briefly about head retention, which is a problem I had with the, okay, here we go with head retention again. Yeah, no problem. Cooper's beer kits, and I remember saying Carapils, yeah, or Crystal 10. As far as how much to use, that's what he's asking. The rule of thumb with Carapils or caramel malt is about anywhere between 250 and 500 grams. Now that's metric, so you're gonna have to convert that to, pounds or whatever if you want. But, don't overdo it with it. 250 grams is a good place to start. 300, 350. But I would never use more than 500, and some people might even say that 500 is too much. Carapils, I would throw 500 in. Grind it up, steep it, in some hot water, 160 degree Fahrenheit, and then use that for your wort. And it will add some protein to your beer and help with the head retention. I have done it, and it's absolutely, it works. Okay. Hey, Craig, I'm enjoying your yeast experiment, excuse me, that you have been running over the past few months. My question, if you brewed an all-grain beer tomorrow, would you be comfortable using your home-brewed yeast strain given from... okay, I think what he's asking is, if I brewed a beer kit, a pre-hopped beer kit with yeast, would I reuse that yeast in an all-grain batch? Because all-grain takes, it can take several hours to do. Yes, absolutely. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to use a yeast that you used in a Cooper's or a Muntons or a whatever beer kit in a all-grain. It will not hurt the beer at all. So you go ahead. If you used a yeast in a simple beer kit, go ahead and use it in all-grain. It's absolutely fine. I'm not a chemist, and I've never done that, but I have absolutely no reason to believe that there'd be a problem. I got a simple pre-hopped malt extract Pilsner lager kit and a kilo of brewing sugar. Ooh. That's right there. You can make beer with kit and kilo, but I'm keen on this lager kit. What can I add to it to change it into an ale or IPA even bitter? Okay. First of all, a lager beer doesn't have a lot to do with the ingredients itself. Usually there's, just base malts, lighter colored beer. If you're brewing an all grain, you'd be using 2-row, maybe a hint of something lighter, a lightly roasted malt maybe. If you're doing a beer kit, of course you're going to do a Pilsner, a lager, a beer kit. But it's the yeast that really makes it, there it goes. It's the yeast that really makes it into a lager. Lagering is a thing that you can look up on YouTube or Google. It's a type of yeast that ferments at lower temperatures, and you'd ferment it for longer, and you'd have to ferment it at quite a lower temperature. A lot of the beer kits that come out say that they're lagers, like for instance the Cooper's lager. It says lager, but it's really kind of a fake lager because it comes with ale yeast, and it just tastes like a light beer. But it's made for simplicity, so they don't include a lager yeast with it. So if you really want a lager beer, you're gonna have to use lagering yeast and ferment it at lower temperatures, like 60 Fahrenheit or somewhere maybe even lower than that. But as far as adding flavors to lagers to make it into something else, I could talk about that all day. Crystal malt, Crystal 60, Crystal 40, chocolate malt, Carapils, not Carapils, that'll add some head retention, not much flavor. Anything that's been, any malt that's been roasted, a darker malt. And don't put too much darker malts in. If you have chocolate malt, just add a little bit, like 50, 60, 100 grams or something like that. I can't talk about recipes during this because I'm trying to get, don't want to make this video too long, but anything that's going to be a malt that's been roasted or a caramel malt would add flavor to your beer. Also, maybe do some hop additions. Boil some hops for 5 minutes and then add those to your beer. Dry hop your beer. After about 4 days, lift up your fermenter lid, throw a couple ounces of hops in there, and just throw them in. Put the lid back down. Hops are sterile. They won't hurt the beer. You get some flavor from that too. So there's lots of ways to add flavor to your beer. And don't forget, buy yourself a jug of Clamato juice. And we talked about this stuff earlier. Fill your glass up to here with Clamato juice and fill the rest up with beer. It's an and put ice in it. Absolutely amazing drink. Good summer drink. And you can chug it and it won't get you stone drunk. Okay? So there's always lots of ways. Lemon. Squeeze some lemon into your beer if you want flavor. Don't be afraid to add things to your beer after the fact when you pour it. Why would you be afraid to do that? It's fine. Put some stuff in there and see what it tastes like. Okay? Hi, Craig. Can you dry hop a Cooper's kit? Yes, you can. I think I just covered that. I just mentioned that in the last question. Absolutely, of course you can. You know, after 4 days of fermentation, open the lid, throw some hops in there, close the lid back up, and let her rip. You'll be happy you did it. An ounce or two of hops, Cascade. There's lots of flavoring hops, flavor/aroma hops that you can dry hop with, and just chuck them in. All right, don't be afraid. Start off with 1 ounce, and if that's not enough, then next time put 2 ounces in. Thanks for another Homebrew Weekly. You're welcome. I got a question. Where do I send you a picture? Got my CraigTube shirt, and I will want to show you. Cheers. Yes, well, CraigTubeMail@gmail.com. If you send me a picture of yourself wearing your CraigTube t-shirt, I will definitely include it on this Homebrew Weekly. Somebody did send me a picture recently, and I'm not going to include it this week because I've run out of time, and I can't remember whether it was Facebook or an email. So that person, please resend your photo to CraigTubeMail@gmail.com and put in the subject CraigTube t-shirt or just t-shirt, and I will get your picture on this video next week. Okay, so if you've already sent me that and you don't see your photo, send it CraigTubeMail@gmail.com with the word t-shirt in the subject, and I'll definitely get it on here. So the least I can do for you guys buying the shirts. Okay, I really appreciate that. tgtshirts.com. I've heard the experts refer to a dry beer. What is the difference between dry beer and regular? Love your broadcast. All to you. All to you. All to me? What? All the beer to me? Oh, I'm all for that. Generally, a dry beer or a dry wine is something that has less sweetness to it. The yeast has fermented most, if not almost all of the sugars out of the solution, and it's very dry, meaning it's not very sweet at all. And that's what a dry beer is. So you would use a yeast. If you're going to make a drier beer, you'd use a yeast that is going to eat most of the sugars, as opposed to a yeast that would leave some sugars behind and let the beer be a bit sweet. And that would not be a dry beer. Okay, so that's what dry beer. Just a quick. All these answers to all these questions are just general. I'm sure I've left stuff out, but I'm trying to get through these as quick as I can. I love your t-shirts. Have you considered selling any other products like baseball caps, etc.? Yes, I have. In fact, I got a prototype quite a while ago, if I can find it, for a hat, a camo hat. I hope I didn't bump the camera there. A camo hat. And we could put something here or something. I have thought about it. I've also thought about, I have seriously thought about beer glasses. Just the thing about those is they break if you ship them and they get bumped around. I'm worried about that. But it would be really cool to have a beer glass with a logo on it. And, for those of you who are fans, we could put CraigTube, we could put the caricature or something on it. But yes, I've thought about it, and thank you for asking, because I'll put that on my list of things to think about more, and we'll see what we can come up with. The question is, would people buy them? That's the thing. Mugs, caps, coffee mugs, I'm up for ideas. So that is the end of the questions. And I hope you guys have a good weekend. Please check out my live broadcast on Friday night if you can. You don't even have to sign in if you don't want, but I'd love it if you did, and say hello in the chat room. And I guess I'm out. I think I'm out of time. So thank you very, very much for watching. Please check out my vinyl channel, Vinyl TV on CraigTube, or on YouTube. And I'll be posting a video there real soon. It's been a little while since I have done that. So, I'll get to that real quick. So thank you so much. Be safe and cheers. Thank you. 17.